So we're going to do a table saw version of the dovetail. This one's fairly simple. You're going to need a fence for your tails with a kerf cut into it. You're going to need a fence for your pins with a kerf cut into it, and both of those are going to be attached to a miter gauge or some sort of a track that's going to go in the miter gauge slot. You're going to need 2 boards. You're going to need a bevel gauge. We're going to use this dovetail marking device to get our dovetails the same, and you're going to want a clamp. Fairly simple. First thing we're going to do it's the same thing we do with every dovetail. We are going to mark our layout. So mark our lines here so we know where to cut to. Switch boards. Okay, so we got those. Now, for our tails, on this one you can do whatever you want here. We're going to mark a 1/4 inch on each side, and then we're going to mark a 1/4 inch around the center. And we're going to use our marking gauge here, which is set at an 8-1 dovetail angle, to mark these lines. Flip it and mark your other edge. Okay, now in this first step, we are going to remove this waste here. So currently, our blade is at a 90-degree angle. We need to tip it to the angle of this dovetail. Just about right there. Okay, and then we're going to lock that in place because we don't want that to move at all during our dovetailing. We're just going to double check that's going to fit through. Now we're going to set that blade height to the height of my opposing board. So just so that that tooth comes right up to the line there. That looks good. Okay, so on the board that we marked, this is the section that we're going to cut out. So we want to line this edge up with this edge of the tail. And what that's going to do is it's going to make it so this inside edge of the blade cuts the outside edge of that dovetail. Now because I'm making a symmetrical one, I can clamp this in place so I have a stop block, so my next one is exactly the same. Flip it around, put it in the stop block. Now we're going to cut the insides out. So it's basically the same process, but we're going to line up on this inside edge. And then I'm just going to remove my stop block, and I'm going to go ahead and start removing all of this material, and this material. These will not get touched. Okay, so there are my tails. They're cut symmetrical. So I am not using a flat ground blade. So you can see I've got little ridges in my cuts here. What I need to now do is take this over to the bench and chisel those off and clean that up. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and switch fences so that we have a different kerf for our tails. So we're gonna pop this one off. and set it aside. And we're gonna switch to a new one. So we're gonna take a bevel gauge, and we're gonna set this bevel gauge to the same angle that we were just cutting. And what we're gonna do is we're going to match that angle with our miter here. And lock it in place. So again, we're cutting out this section here. We want to stay on the inside of this line. We do not want to cut this part. So we're going to line up our cuts here. I'm lining the inside of the blade up with this inside line or outside line, cutting on the inside of where the tails are. Just like that. Now we're going to cut this one. There we go. Okay, so we cut both of those. Now we need to cut the other side. So to do that, we're going to switch our gauge here, our miter gauge, the opposite way. Okay, and now all that's left to do is eat away this here waste, get rid of that. We'll just clean up some of those blade marks, and then we will check our fit. See if we can tap it in. And there it is, an easy table saw dovetail. If this was helpful, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and don't forget to check out our other joinery videos. Peace.